Good evening, friends. I'm live tonight on YouTube. Come on in. We're going to be talking about the Senate Parliamentarian's decision. Bad news, guys. You may have already heard or read through the media, and I've just posted on it as well. The Senate Parliamentarian has rejected she has rejected the pathway to citizenship for 8 million people. But what was her reason? Why did she do so? Okay, I see folks are starting to join. Thank you very much for joining. As you come on in, just say hello. And I see some comments are coming in. Thank you so much for being with me. It's very, very late. It's 11 o'clock, actually 11:08 p.m. Eastern Time. So friends, tonight the parliamentarian issued her decision. We're going to go right into it. We're going to go right into her decision. The Hill reports that the Senate parliamentarian nixes Democrats' immigration plan. Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough on Sunday ruled against Democrats' plan to provide 8 million green cards as part of their $3.5 trillion spending bill, dealing a significant blow to Democrats' immigration reform chances. And so what are folks saying? What are the legislators saying who put this proposal before her? Senator Dick Durbin, who is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, says, "I am deeply disappointed in the parliamentarians' decision tonight, but the fight for immigration reform will continue. Senate Democrats have prepared an alternative proposal for the parliamentarians' consideration in the coming days." And I wanted to start this live session with this particular message because I want you guys to understand that they are not giving up. Okay, although many of us are deeply disappointed and saddened by this decision tonight, and I think you can tell from my tone, right? My tone tonight, I am so disappointed as well. It took me a while to come on tonight and just be with you and talk with you about this issue, because I of myself was very disappointed. Nevertheless, the Democratic leadership, Chuck Schumer, has also said the same thing. They are preparing an alternative proposal, friends, for the parliamentarians' consideration in the coming days. Now, at this time, I have no idea what this alternative proposal could possibly be. Let's see, there's both Dick Durbin and others. Let me just read this. There is a statement that was issued tonight by U.S. Senate Majority Whip Dick Durbin and U.S. Senator Alex Padilla out of California. He is the chair of the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration, Citizenship, and Border Safety. They released the following statement today concerning the parliamentarians' ruling on Senate Democrats' proposal to allow Dreamers, TPS holders, and essential workers to apply for lawful permanent resident status via reconciliation. And this is what they've said, basically the same thing that I just read to you from Dick Durbin. "We are deeply disappointed in the decision, but the fight for immigration reform will continue. Senate Democrats have prepared an alternative proposal for the parliamentarians' consideration in the coming days." And so they seem, they seem somewhat, let me jump back on here. They seem somewhat optimistic that they were prepared. Okay. They were prepared for her to say no. And they have another plan that they want to bring to her. I'm guessing that this is a scaled down version, right? Because the first version that I outlined to you about a week ago, exactly a week ago tomorrow, the House version was very, it was very aggressive, as I've mentioned. And so now they have a different version that they want to bring to her. I don't know who is included in this different version, whether they're going to cut out some groups or whether, it's going to be focused primarily on Dreamers. I don't know, right? We're going to see. But for 8 million people, a pathway to citizenship for 8 million people is not something that the Senate parliamentarian supported. And in fact, I have her decision here that I'm going to take you into right now. Let me pull it up. Let's just get into that. So this is her decision, and I'm going to increase the font size here so that you guys can see this. Okay, so here's what she had to say, and I'm not going to read all of this. I just highlighted some key parts of her decision so that you could understand the rationale that went into her her decision. Okay, so here's what she said. The question before us is whether a series of proposed amendments to the INA, the Immigration and Nationality Act, that remove existing barriers to adjustment of status to that of lawful permanent resident, LPR, for a variety of existing and newly created classes of immigrants and non-immigrants, including many not legally present in the United States, is a policy change that substantially outweighs the budgetary impact of that change. We believe it is, and we find that the material from previous reconciliation bills cited as support for the current proposal is distinguishable or not controlling on this issue. And then she goes on to say that CBO estimates that 8 million people will adjust to lawful permanent status, residency status under this proposal, and that such adjustment will increase the deficit by $140 billion over 10 years as a result of the social safety net / benefits programs to which LPRs would be entitled. The current proposal would waive various relevant sections of the INA and create a new class of alien who is eligible for adjustment of status. It is by any standard a broad new immigration policy. And friends, as I've mentioned in other videos, she was specifically looking for anything that is like a policy change, right? Something that is more along the lines of a policy change. And so she said, that's what I found here. This is broad, and it is a new immigration policy. And then let me jump down just a little bit here to the conclusion. Okay, let's get to the conclusion. Change in the law to clear the way to LPR status is tremendous, an enduring policy change that dwarfs its budgetary impact. And then I found this last section here interesting. She says, perhaps more critically, permitting this provision in reconciliation would set a precedent that could be used to argue that rescinding any immigration status from anyone, not just those who obtain LPR status by virtue of this provision, would be permissible because the policy of stripping status from any immigrant does not vastly outweigh whatever budgetary impact there might be. That would be a stunning development, but a logical outgrowth of permitting this proposed change in reconciliation, and is further evidence that the policy changes of this proposal far outweigh the budgetary impact scored to it, and it is not appropriate for inclusion in reconciliation. Okay, that's her opinion. That's her decision. Okay, so the Senate parliamentarian has decided that this immigration language in reconciliation is broad. It creates a new policy, creates a new class of immigrants, of people, new class of aliens, and it is a policy change. So now what, right? So if you follow me on Instagram, I did a live session on Instagram a couple of days ago, and then I did some smaller videos for TikTok and Instagram in which I talked a little bit about the Senate parliamentarian issue. And one of the questions that came up from one of you is, well, what if she says no? What if she says no? In fact, I published it today, ironically, today. I did that small video. What if she says no? Now what? What do we do? Can the bill still pass? And so the answer is actually yes, provided that there is a vote in the Senate of 51-50. Okay, all 50 Democrats would need to support the idea of overturning her decision, okay, overturning it. And then the 51st vote would be Vice President Kamala Harris, who would come in and vote along with the Democrats. That's one way that they could go about this. Tonight, I should say, the statements that I saw coming out from leadership, Senate Democrat leadership, doesn't suggest that they're going to do that. They're talking not aggressively about pursuing, a vote on the bill anyway and overturn her decision. Rather, they're talking about an alternative proposal so that they're going to give to her and allow her to make a decision on that. So that's what they're going to do next. Okay. So that's where we are. Unique says, let's keep the faith and keep praying. I agree with you. And in fact, before coming on with you tonight, I looked at some of the comments that some of you started posting on my channel here, and I'm gonna pull it up for you so that you could see some of this. Okay, so Ahmed said 8 million hearts were broken because of one person. That's totally not fair. And Zeke says, this breaks my heart. All I want is a fair chance at life. I never choose to move here. Then Ronald, on the more positive notes, thank you for that, Ronald. Let's wait for the alternative proposal. Don't lose hope. God is good. And Zeus says that we are honestly so unlucky. This sucks. So as you can see, and as I can see from the comments, that there's a deep disappointment that a lot of people are feeling tonight as a result of this decision. And, the Democrats have another plan. And once that plan is released, friends, you know that I'm going to bring it before you so that we could talk about it thoughtfully. And then let's see. They don't like undocumented immigrants, and they like people who come legally, family-based and employment-based. It's just all talks. What about the House bill? Will it stay? So Wissam is asking about the House bill. And so my understanding, Wissam, is that, the Senate version that was presented to the parliamentarian pretty much mirrors or didn't depart. It wasn't a far departure from what the House had put together. So the Senate, Dick Durbin did not want to release his version until the Senate parliamentarian made her decision on it. So we've never actually seen his version, but what I've read from the media and others, heard through others, is that the version that he has out there is very similar to the House version. So, and the House version, as you guys know, historically, the House puts it all out there, excuse me, the more aggressive policy, and then eventually it's usually slimmed down a little bit or brought to the middle. So, so that's where that stands. Let's see what other questions that you have. Khan says, well, what about essential works? What about essential workers? That was part of the proposal, Khan, and that's what she rejected based on a broad policy change that she believed this would bring about. Let's see. Taya says, everyone is waiting for their case to get approved. So more than 8 million hearts are broken. Yeah, that's a great point, Taya. Immigration is bigger than this, of course, but we've honed in on this because this is a historical moment, and this does impact a great deal of people. Why do I say 8 million? Is it not 11 million undocumented, George? So, George, under the reconciliation proposal, 8 million is what they were targeting here, okay? based on those 4 groups that I discussed last week in my video, Dreamers, with those who came in when they were 18 and under, TPS holders, essential workers, and those with DED. And so that's the 8 million that they were looking at helping here. And then this is a great question. Do you think they'll focus more on Dreamers? I think so, because here's the other thing. Just a couple of days ago, on September 15th, a bipartisan bill came out, and I did a video about it. My last video was about this topic that focused on this bipartisan bill on the Senate side. Senator Padilla, a Democrat from California, and then Senator Rand Paul, a Republican from Kentucky. They have a bill out there that would help documented dreamers. And so I thought, well, this is interesting timing that they're coming out with their version. The House has had their version pending for a little bit now, but the Senate came out with their version just this week. And I thought, why did they do that? Are they putting this framework out there because maybe an alternative proposal would just hone in on dreamers? I don't know. But that I was thinking the timing of that bill is quite interesting. Okay. Let's see. Prune says, this is really not fair. What about people who had their cases in immigration for 6 years and they never got their papers? That's very unfair. Let's see. What else are you guys saying? What about the backlogs? The backlogs with respect to, well, backlogs was part of this as well, right? Because they're part of the House proposal, which I'm not going to spend much time on because the Senate Parliamentarian decision came out tonight rejecting the plan, but the overall plan. But there was an attempt in the House version to help people in the family-based system who has an approved I-130, and also those in the employment-based side of things who has an approved I-140 to be able to apply for adjustment of status sooner rather than later. So there were some things in there that did address the backlogs. Rodrigo asked, if they decrease the number of people, do you think it will pass? That's, okay, so if they go from 8 million to 1 million, right, which they could arguably do, right, when they talk about an alternative proposal, I would go back to her rationale, right, for rejecting this. She had some very serious concerns about creating a new class of aliens, and the fact that what she reviewed was policy changes. And, it was, in my opinion, policy changes, okay? But she rejected that. So she rejected that. And so I would have to see, maybe they could come up with something that doesn't so aggressively change the INA in that type of way. Maybe something, they could do maybe a temporary program, right? Something conditional. I don't know. We'll see how they structure it. And then maybe maybe they could whittle it down to smaller groups of people. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. We'll have to wait and see what it's going to actually look like. But I agree with you. I'm thinking that it would be a smaller number of people, but they would have to, I think, tweak the structure of their framework in order for her to approve the next one. Okay. Is it possible to pass next year? I don't know. I don't know what the political dynamics are going to be in the Senate, right? Over time, things change, right? Right now, they have a unique opportunity because of the makeup of the Senate as it is right now. They have a tremendous amount of power. So now is the time for something like this. And we've seen that the bipartisan process failed. Remember, I was reporting out to you about the bipartisan group of senators who are meeting to hash things out. That didn't go anywhere at all. And now the border crisis, as you guys are seeing, involving the Haitians, the migrants, you know, there's a lot of pressure in DC these days about immigration issues. Okay, but I'm going to jump off now. Thank you so much for being with me in this live session. Just to summarize, the Senate Parliamentarian rejected the Democrats' plan tonight to include immigration, the pathway to lawful permanent status, really, and ultimately citizenship for 8 million people. And she issued her opinion saying that this created broad policy changes and a new class of aliens under our law, and it would be too risky to go ahead and do something like this right now because of the implications for the future, what kind of precedent this would actually set up. So many of us are very deeply disappointed by this, but the Democrat leadership have come out and said that they have an alternative plan that they're going to advance and present to her. And so we're going to watch in the coming days to see what that proposal is and what her thoughts are on it. And I will be sure to report out to you guys on it. Thank you so much for being with me live in this very late evening. And friends, share this video with other people, and subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so that you'll get notice of my videos as they come out each week. Thanks so much for being with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.